I've done a fair amount of gearing videos over the course of Dragonflight, and lately I've always been getting comments on how everything seems too complex. This is way too freaking complicated, overcomplicated BS, and they wonder why no one's playing the game now. World of Currencies. And this begs the question, is really gearing nowadays more complicated than before? Well, the short answer is yes. But the bigger question here that we need to ask ourselves is why it is considered too complex and why do people whine about it. So join me today as we get to the bottom of it and uncover the secrets behind the shared frustrations of the WoW community when it comes to modern gearing. And most importantly, is there a light at the end of the never-ending gear-filled tunnel? Alright, let's go ahead and start. My voice will sound quite funny, guys, really sorry for that. I'm currently recovering from a cold, so hope you do understand. First things first, before we delve deeper and try to get some answers, we need to establish a baseline. What exactly are players comparing modern WoW to, and why? Well, it's no secret. It's classic WoW or vanilla WoW, whatever you wanna call it, the good old days. Specifically, they compare it to the simplicity of gearing up in the old days when it was just a linear path. Level up nice and slow, run through a few dungeons, hit up a raid, and voila, with a bit of push of the RNG gods, gearing is done. Well, obviously it wasn't that easy in reality, but you could go from point A to point B, there was a clear path. But fast forward to modern WoW and the landscape looks vastly different. The journey to top tier gear, well, let's just say it's a tad more convoluted. So let's shed some light on the complexities of today's gear grind. As each year rolls by and expansions keep piling and piling up, WoW has indeed become a giant of content, lore, and increasingly challenging raid and dungeon tactics. We got into Mythic raiding, got introduced to Mythic Plus dungeons, the Catalyst, and then the Great Vault, the crafted gear, and the world events. The list goes on, creating a plethora of gearing options. A big chunk of the player base sees this as a problem as it adds more complexity to the game, a labyrinth of methods that can leave players feeling lost. Gone are the days of simplicity. Now staying ahead demands constant guide watching, stream scouring, and meticulous min-maxing. The pressure as well rises up, especially early in the season, turning what should be relaxed fun with friends and guildies into a high-stakes drive. And it's true, many in the WoW community share this perspective, viewing the game through a lens of stress and strain. However, I prefer to see the glass as half full. Yes, the game has evolved, becoming more intricate along the way, but is that necessarily a bad thing? Well, I beg to differ. While the pressure may seem overwhelming, there are silver linings, opportunities to ease the burden somewhat and still enjoy the game as you like. There are indeed measures that could be implemented to alleviate this feeling, but what we need to take from it is that we now have alternative avenues of gearing up, offering more diverse paths to attain respectable gear compared to the days of the old WoW. Blizzard's immediate response to community feedback has been increasingly evident in recent years, with swifter reactions to players' needs. Sure, we've got a long way to go, but we can all agree that Blizzard is more attuned to issues and quicker to offer solutions than ever before. For example, enabling the Catalyst earlier in the season is something we all wanted, and Blizzard delivered. The Catalyst has been live from day one of Season 4 with one charge every week, and undoubtedly had helped us all complete the 4th set much faster this time around, and yes, even the casual players had managed to do it. And I stand living proof of that, as I had limited time to play this time around, and by only doing a few LFR runs and just a few keys, I've already got my 4th set without need to invest too much time. Imagine if you are also clearing normal and heroic and maybe mythic, then it is even easier for you. But that being said, I do believe the root of the gearing complexity issue runs deeper, and I think it's fair to assume most of it comes from Blizzard's urge to satisfy everyone's needs. While this intention seems noble on the surface, the reality is a bit more daunting. The increased engagement with the community needs and the effort to cater to every player type, be that solo, casual, and hardcore, well, makes everyone complain because the result has been an influx of gear acquisition methods. From completing tons of outdoor events to purchasing gear from vendors and grinding so many currencies, players are faced with a plethora of options, each demanding their time and attention. And it's natural that for quite many this abundance of choice feels very exhausting, transforming what should be a fun escape from everyday life into a checklist of daily and weekly tasks. The harsh reality is that the majority of the player base is grappling with demanding real-life commitments such as 9-to-5 jobs, family, house errands, and just simply can't keep up with the pace of the game. It's possible that they might have like 1 or 2 hours to play each day, if they can actually make this time. And understandably enough, this boils into a big frustration and many complaints when everyone is trying to balance their busy lives with the growing time demands of the game. I completely agree on this, but let's be real. Now I think we are in a much better place than previous expansions, where we had to do even more weekly activities such as chore gas or the BFA horrific visions, and yeah, don't get me started on the infinite loop of Azerite and artifact power grinds that we were forced to do. I don't even want to remember those days. Like, seriously. Fortunately, Blizzard understood that that was a big mistake on their part and stopped with the borrow powers, or so they have us believe. But that being said, the game is still very demanding. Depending on where you stand, if you are a solo player, preferably doing outdoor content, the checklist can feel never-ending. Meanwhile, Dungeon and Raid players face the challenge of completing a set number of Mythic Plus keys and defeating a certain X amount of raid bosses to maximize their Great Vault rewards. PvP players also have their hands full with conquest caps and a plethora of daily and weekly activities to manage. And let's not forget about crafting, which has undergone a significant overhaul in Dragonflight. While we can all agree professions offer a more engaging experience, which is true, they've also become undeniably more complex. Crafted gear has become a viable avenue for acquiring powerful items as well, but it's not as easy as we first thought. Relying on other players for crafting services can be quite the gamble, especially when certain recipes are locked behind rare and very low drops. This ultimately leads to frustration when you struggle to find a single crafter capable of producing the desired gear. However, it's important to remember that going after best-in slot gear, it is a choice, not an obligation. After all, the beauty of modern WoW lies in its flexibility, allowing players to tailor their experience to suit their preferences and play styles. Whether you're aiming to be the best of the best or just casually gearing up in every season, the choice is yours to make. And luckily, it seems professions will be somewhat easier in the War Within, or at least that's what I saw from other content creators while playing Alpha. It seems there will not be inspiration, and yeah, perhaps this could also help make crafting items a bit more affordable and maybe more people can craft them. What most of the people whine about modern gearing is that they have a lot of farming to not stay behind. And yes, if you are a mythic raider and going after cutting edge, it's a lot of pressure and lots of grinding. You have to unlock all the Great Vault slots, clear all the raids, and do as many Mythic Plus keys as possible and craft as many gear items with professions. But you did sign up for it, didn't you? At the end of the day, no one is forcing you to do this if you don't really want to. People are also complaining that we got a lot of currencies lately, and yeah, I completely agree with you. Blizzard has really gone overboard with the world events and, as a result, currencies in this expansion. In almost every patch, they added at least one world event, piling up to a big parade of world events. And since they increased the item level now from most of these, well, you have to go and do them all over again. But they undeniably serve as a valuable tool for outgearing, so I wouldn't interpret it as that bad. I mean, yeah, they could probably be a bit more modest with them, cut down a bit. But that's a content mostly aimed for solo outdoor players, and it's good that it exists, and I mean, you don't have to do it if you prefer to do dungeons and raids. Obviously, I couldn't end this video before I say a few words about the new upgrading system that we got in Dragonflight. Actually, some of you find it to be quite complex and annoying to deal with, but personally, I find it to be a welcome addition. It's an evergreen feature that could go on and on for many expansions to come by just replacing the name of the crest and flystones. I mean, it's definitely not the best system in the game right now, but as you can see, they've already started making it better with each patch and seeing the player feedback and all, and I truly believe that they can make it even better. The feeling of progress and reward is essential in any MMO, and WoW is not an exception. Being able to get upgrading mats even if you don't receive a piece of gear at the end of a dungeon or a raid boss is a great example of this. It ensures that every run feels meaningful and contributes to your overall progression. Admittedly, the flystone cap does seem a bit useless, and I agree that its removal in future expansions will be a step in the right direction. However, features like the crest system, especially with the recent addition of conversions, offer a better approach to gearing. The introduction of bullion in this season is particularly noteworthy in providing players with a clear goal to strive for. And I did also like the new Awaken gear, where you can get a very low item and still upgrade it to the highest tiers. Yes, you still need to be able to run higher keys and raids in order to get the highest crest, so it's not really a free loot, but it's good to work on something, and that's not even the best thing. No. The best thing is that you don't actually have to keep farming the same item over and over again. I think that's a big win for everyone and something that could be implemented just a bit more in the future. And I do actually want to say a few words on this. Let's take Boomy here for example, who starts working on low keys early in the season and slowly works his way up the key ladder. He luckily obtains his Beast Trinket very early from a +3 and it's a champion gear. It's really good for him now and he can upgrade it as well, right? But it's not something that will last for the whole season. Then he will need to farm the same item in higher level, which equals to hero drop, and then that also has to be upgraded. And if RNG gods are feeling quite generous and he gets the same trinket from the vault, and that will be equal to myth gear if he managed to do a +8, then he will have to replace it and upgrade it even further. And yes, this feels like a big waste of flystones and upgrading mats if Boomy keeps replacing the item and keeps upgrading and upgrading. And mind you, now is somewhat better than what it was before with the dungeon squish, as completing a low key now offers champion, but in previous season it was actually even lower, it was veteran. So yeah, things are a tiny bit better now as dungeons offer a more meaningful gear, more powerful gear, but the system still needs improvement. And I think implementing something as simple as like the Awaken gear, where you can keep upgrading it, it will save a lot of time and currency and lots of praying to the RNG gods. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, that's my personal take on this, guys, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with me or do you see things differently? And if so, let me know. It's totally okay if we don't see eye to eye. And since you have stayed this far and I love you for it, I'll tell you I'm quite good with the gear I managed to get this far. I mean, I've had so much limited time to play and I managed to complete my 4th set and get 3 Awakened pieces of gear. So yeah, I'm very satisfied with that. Obviously, I still have a long way to go. I need to farm some Mythic Plus, and I don't know if I'll manage to do any raiding, but yeah, you might think gearing is complex. At the end of the day, it's not if you don't want it to be. It's important to have in your back of your head that you can gear up as much as you feel confident and just don't overdo it if you don't want to. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you all on the next one. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date. Good luck with whatever you are doing, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye!